This is your spoiler warning. Welcome everyone back to Spoiler Warning, where we talk wrestling news in depth and with plenty of exclusives you can't find anywhere else. I'm your host Tom Colohue, and we have plenty of news as always to go through with you. We will be starting with disagreements between the creative lead, Chief Content Officer Triple H, and a member of the board, The Rock, who's also bringing in lots of creative ideas over the future of the Bloodline. This includes plans for Solo Sikoa, WrestleMania 41, The Rock himself, and whether or not he will be doing double duty. We also have a brief discussion on LA Knight versus Logan Paul. What was the plan? What might the plan be now? And who's doing most of the booking when it comes to LA Knight? Yeah. We have a little bit on Nia Jax earning rave reviews backstage. There's also a little bit of coverage for Liv Morgan there as regards plans for a match for her. We're going to talk the tag division, a rebuild that is being built around one particular tag team who is going to be wrestling on Raw tonight. We also give an update on tag teams which right now are not being considered part of the tag team division. We have an update that some in WWE are not expecting Alexa Bliss back at all. We have more to dive into on that one, but some in WWE are not expecting her back. We're going to talk a little bit about the videos that went live over the last few days. Sunday's video in particular, WTF Wrestling, let's just say is still actively doing extremely well. We're going to talk about a match that was planned for CM Punk at Elimination Chamber that may well still be happening, just with a different name in Punk's place. Drew McIntyre has confirmed, reporting from me, about them ad-libbing a lot of promos, about the fact that they're not as scripted as they used to be. We're going to talk Jey Uso versus Gunther and plans for Gunther when it comes to the European tour of PLE's incoming. We have a little bit on Damage Control, a quote you're going to enjoy. And after that, it's mostly updates on the channel and updates on the fact that PWTorch will no longer be hosting Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure after WrestleMania will cease to be. So plenty to discuss. We currently have 48 people here after only 2 minutes, 22 likes, more than double the amount of people here as of late like. So as I get into this first piece of news, please do remember to hit that thumbs up. Every thumbs up guarantees more viewership, and if we can go from 22 to 25, we'll break that 50 viewers and you'll see it snowball. We regularly peak at least double the amount of likes. So if we're able to get 50, we'll have 100 people here. That's at least my math, and it's the math that matters. Let's dive into it then. Our top story is disagreements between The Rock and Triple H as regards the future of the Bloodline. Now, in particular, this is as regards The Rock's use himself. Now, there was a report in the Wrestling Observer during a week in which the Wrestling Observer did have to apologise, or at least Dave Meltzer had to apologise, for a number of proven inaccuracies. One of those inaccuracies was that The Rock volunteered to step aside for Cody Rhodes. To my knowledge, this did not happen. It was Triple H who made the decision that The Rock would step aside for Cody Rhodes. Now, The Rock has come up with a number of different plans with his own head of creative, essentially, Brian Gewirtz, who is pitching a number of different ideas, and Triple H is not believed to be particularly enamoured of, to be blunt, any of them. Now, The Rock is trying to make a few suggestions. All of them essentially involve him taking over the Bloodline and defeating Roman Reigns, including something that he asked for right at the beginning, a championship run for The Rock. Triple H does not want to give The Rock a championship run, but The Rock does have a lot of sway, and he's trying to make it happen regardless. Now that we've seen some changes, particularly as regards this year's WrestleMania, The Rock is pushing for a match against Roman Reigns for the championship at WrestleMania 41. This would mean that Cody Rhodes loses at this year's WrestleMania, and that is something that The Rock is believed to be actively pushing for. Triple H is said to favour the idea of Solo Sikoa taking over the Bloodline, particularly in a good old tribal chieftain manner, but The Rock is not believed to be enamoured of that either. As regards this year's WrestleMania, there's a number of different possibilities still on the table. The tag team match is not firmly locked in yet. There is still an option for The Rock to essentially interject in the Elimination Chamber and get a match with Seth Rollins, but the decision seems to be to have two separate World Championships going forward, so there is unlikely to be any sort of winner-take-all element. As regards this year's WrestleMania, The Rock was interested after the change in doing double duty, a tag team match first, and then still potentially going up against Roman or a name such as Randy Orton in the second night of WrestleMania. However, he is not believed to be physically capable of double duty at this point in time, at least while keeping up a decent level of quality for the matches that he would be involved in. We have plenty more to be covering. I'm going to catch up with the chat a little bit as we go through. 26 likes, 59 people. As you can see, we're sticking in around that double mark. Keep them coming. 4 more gets us to 30. Pardon me. Joey says, did The Rock want a one-on-one match with Roman? Is that why he's not happy? The Rock definitely did want that. That moment does not seem likely to be happening at this point in time. At least not for The Rock, and at least not for a while. Good evening to you too, Jordan. Nice to see you. I always like it when people come in here and say hi to each other. Make sure you do if you haven't already. Spiderball says, do you see Jey Uso winning tonight versus Gunther? No. Braun Breaker to SmackDown. Do you think Jade goes to Raw? No, I think Jade's injured at this point in time. Let me know if I'm not right on this one. Spider-Boss also brings in Cody Rhodes is currently ranked at a 93 in 2K24. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on whether that's just right, too much, or too little. Daniel says, yo, Daniel, nice to see you. And Michael's here saying, hi, Tom. Hello, Michael. Leon says, hi, Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you, sir. Joey says, if LA Knight wrestled Logan Paul, could AJ Styles be added to the match? It certainly could now. That is my second piece of news, and we will be covering it. You may note that news came out of Fightful a couple of days ago. It also came out of here, Tom Colohue, in October. So it's another wonderful moment where, let's just say I beat the paywalls quite comfortably by 4 months. Spider-Boss says, my thing with the Bloodline storyline is what is next when Roman loses the title. Just think that Roman should win at WrestleMania. What's next essentially is a Bloodline civil war. I could certainly see Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus... I could certainly see The Rock and Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa after all. Turnbuckle Studios, I'd imagine that's you, Carl, says that math seems to work for me. Sean says, hello, Tom. Hello, Sean. And Michael says, all of a sudden, Meltzer is saying that Mercedes didn't ask for more than Charlotte and Becky. He's so unreliable. As many regulars here, and I believe you actually double-checked this with me at the time, Michael. As many of you are aware, I was the only person up until this point who has reported that it's not about the money for Mercedes money. Evening, Daniel. Nice to see you. Moises says Rock needs to go back to Hollywood. I wouldn't banish him just yet. I do think he could be very, very useful in matches with people a little further down the card. Chad Gable versus The Rock, for example. Gunther versus The Rock. Logan Paul versus The Rock. All good options. Bailey says, what do you see as a ceiling for Braun Breaker over the next year? Over the next year? Intercontinental Championship. That's over the next year. After that, I think he can go even higher. The speed and pace of his offense alone should get him there. Robin Dave says there's a possibility that Roman will retain. To be blunt, and you guys will have seen me do this before, everything is on the table. Joey says, would Seth even be able to work double duty since he's dealing with a knee injury right now? Yes, he would, on the basis that that knee injury is expected to be fine in a couple of weeks. He may well, in fact, wrestle at Elimination Chamber. More to come on that one. Selvik says, hello Tom, I hope you're doing well. According to Fightful Select, Steve Maclin's contract is going to expire soon. Haven't heard anything on that. I don't really have much in the way of contacts in TNA, but I don't doubt it when it comes to a contract dispute that Fightful are all over it. Juan says, hey Tom, after watching a clip of The Rock throwing up the one, it looked like the Bang Bang Scissor Gang symbol instead, which Jay White acknowledged, and so he should. If he can get the rub from The Rock, he absolutely must. Sean says, fans are speculating The Rock is playing Roman. It will cost him the championship at WrestleMania. I found that unlikely. If The Rock wants Roman Reigns to lose a championship, then what The Rock wants is for Roman Reigns to lose a championship to him. My expectation is that he's not playing Roman, but that The Rock will beat Cody Rhodes in a tag team match in the first night of WrestleMania, and then see Roman Reigns lose to Cody in the second night, thus starting the Civil War. Roger says, I think both Rumble winners should main event WrestleMania. You and me both. I have more on that as regards damage control shortly. Carl says, Cody loses to The Rock, Drew to beat Seth, and then Cody versus Drew to end the story. Just my opinion. The story technically will have ended on night 1 if that's the case. Because, Roman. Joey says, do you know why the OC went down to NXT? Could they be reuniting with a Bullet Club member? Because ultimately they have absolutely no plans for the OC at the moment, and they're just trying to get some return from what is a sizable investment. King Either says, hey Tom, do you see Rhea beating Becky and having Becky beating her at SummerSlam? Yes, no. I see, and this is my prediction, I see Rhea Ripley maintaining her championship reign until WrestleMania 41 when she loses it to Bianca Belair. Razar says Rock really chose the worst year to inject himself back into WWE. He would have been great in 2021 or 2022, but now isn't the time. Sean says we already saw a Bloodline Civil War. Do we really need another one? Need? No. Want? Kind of. It's The Rock. I wouldn't argue. Khalid says, Tom, I'm very excited for Saturday, the Elimination Chamber, my favourite pay-per-view in WWE. Andrew says, hello Tom, hope you're well. Getting an American Nightmare tattoo tomorrow on my left arm. Also can't wait for 2K24 in 14 days and I enjoy these shows. A number of wonderful things there, Andrew. I hope the tattoo goes well. I hope it's not on your neck. Hello Wiggly, good evening to you too. Nice to see you. Juan says, speaking of Mercedes money, Tom, according to Eric Bischoff, he doesn't have faith in her drawing power. More on Mercedes money shortly. Zane says, do you think WWE would be interested in signing TNA's Josh Alexander? I don't believe they would. No. No, Wiggly, I'm not planning to go to For the Love of Wrestling at this point in time. If I'm not going to be there as media, I don't really want to be there. Selvik says, I know you'll be giving an update on Alexa. What about Carmella? Carmella, I gave an update on Friday. By all means, check that out. Spider-Boss says, in my opinion, I think Solo Sikoa should be the one to take over the Bloodline. You and me both. Noob says, hello Tom, how are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you. Welcome to the show. And Roger says, are you buying 2K24? I'm tempted, but it depends if Ed can talk me into it. That's how it goes. Spider-Boss says, here Cody's story for 2 years and I wonder what is Cody's story. It's the same guy who got booed in AEW. That's another of the issues that Triple H is currently having with The Rock. So The Rock planned his own promo on SmackDown, and it's believed, particularly Triple H and Cody Rhodes, because he pointed out a lot of flaws in their logic. Primarily, what is the Cody Rhodes story? Because ultimately, the Cody Rhodes story seems to be, I'm back, I want that, gimme. That's kind of it. Yes, Wiggly Solo is very good, but he does need a bit of work yet to get there. Shane says, hey Tom, love the channel, thank you. Who do you see taking the pin if they do the tag team match at WrestleMania? Personally, I think Cody Rhodes loses. Thanks for that, Pete. Did anyone else hear the? Did anyone else have the sound drop out? Thanks for the heads up, Pete. Also, hi. Gotcha. Thank you. Wiggly says, we've not seen Solo come into his own yet, but I just don't rate him. And fair enough, you're permitted to do so. Wiggly, I'm followed by Sergeant Slaughter. If I had any questions for him, I would absolutely ask them. Sean says, is there any reason 2K hasn't revealed Alexa or Cora's models for 2K24? Alexa Bliss, to my knowledge, has not finalised her character in 2K24 as of yet. Gotcha, guys. So we did drop the audio for a second. Couple of people confirming. Appreciate that, guys. YouTube seems to be having a few problems at the moment. Thank you, RF, as well. A few problems at the moment. My analytics just aren't there. I can't see how many people are watching. I can't see the chat rate or anything like that. I can't see the average view duration. All I can see is how many likes, which is 35, and how many viewers, 71. Once again, twice as many viewers as we have likes. Can we get 5 more? Can we go up to 40? Can we go up to 80 viewers? Because I think we might. Thank you guys for confirming that. Wiggly says, what is the deal with Damien in the briefcase? They're waiting for the right moment. Spider-Boss says, fans want a full-timer as world champion. Seth is a full-timer and fans turned on him shortly after Seth won the title. Disagree. I do not think anyone... Well, I think ultimately the people who turned on Seth are the same people who turn on everyone. Everyone. Just everyone. Robin Dave says, if Roman retains at WrestleMania, would you be not happy, Tom? I'd be... I like wrestling. I don't really care too much as long as it's believable, as long as there's like logic to it. So I don't know. There's plenty enough Gunter for me to get over what's going on with Cody. Absolutely right, Chris. We're full of them at the moment. Full of them. Next piece of news then, because we have quite a lot to get through, and that is as regards LA Knight and Logan Paul. So, you'll have seen the news come out via Fightful Select that there was a plan in place for LA Knight and Logan Paul to face off for the United States Championship at this year's WrestleMania. This was confirmation, though my name wasn't mentioned, of a report I made back in October. This was also mentioned by Viper Reports, who I believe used to work for Zero News. May have been Ringside News, I'm not really sure. Either way, they basically just said what I said, that the plan was indeed in place. Now, Kevin Owens is still due a rematch, and the idea was that they would go to Elimination Chamber, but Kevin Owens' injuries, particularly his foot injury, has been flaring up recently. They haven't been able to make the match happen. Kevin Owens could still get the match in the weeks to come. Logan Paul will be in attendance for many weeks in the build-up to WrestleMania, and it's believed there'll be plenty of access to him if they need to get over that line. However, when it comes to LA Knight, he may not get the opportunity at this point in time. Personally, I think it's still quite likely, primarily because of who's actually booking LA Knight at the moment. There is one individual in the creative team who is leading the charge to get LA Knight in the big money matches, in the World Championship picture, big moments in Royal Rumbles, even though it was, previous years. But you'll note his Royal Rumble appearances have been against Bray Wyatt and a WWE Undisputed Universal Championship match, and that is Triple H. Triple H is personally heavily involved in the writing for LA Knight. Yeah. There is one big issue in that, and that's that Triple H is also heavily invested in Kevin Owens getting the opportunities. I do believe when it comes to a direct choice, Triple H would choose Kevin Owens on the basis that Kevin Owens is a bigger star in the WWE at this point in time. As I've mentioned previously, I don't expect Kevin Owens to have a match at WrestleMania, if not for this one. Personally, though, I think that might be the right call. Let me know what you think in the chat. Would you rather have LA Knight versus Logan Paul or LA Knight versus Kevin Owens? And to be clear, if you say a triple threat, I'm going to tell you to do it again. Ray says, I'm so happy to be able to watch Elimination Chamber at 11 a.m. instead of 1 a.m. You and me both. I'm hyped up, I'm eager, I'm excited. Saturday is going to feel like a nice, warm bath because I can get up, I can eat breakfast, I can do some stretching, I'm getting too big, I need to lose some weight, I need to exercise more, and then I can watch a pay-per-view, or a PLE I should say, live on the Tom Colohue channel with a hell of a lot of friends. I'm very hyped about it, and I cannot wait. Moises says, if Roman retains, I'd have to take a big break from the product. Is there no other reason you watch, Moises? Genuine question. For me, I would be annoyed, but I would then look at what else there is to check out. Sean says, do you see Shayna winning the second chance battle royal? Personally, no. I do think there's a possibility that Chelsea Green does win it. King Azza says, hey Tom, do you see Gunther hitting 1,000 days as IC champion? I do, primarily because I definitely don't see him losing at WrestleMania. Even if it was Brock Lesnar, I wouldn't see it. Chris says, me too. My cable keeps going out. Now I'm looking at other options to the Raw watch along tonight. That sucks, man. Sorry to hear it. When it comes to the watch parties, I would imagine we're all very, very excited about the idea of Netflix having them. That will make watch parties so much easier. Sean is the first one to recommend a triple threat, but I believe this was before I mentioned it. Spider-Boss says, I honestly think Roman should win at WrestleMania 40. Now it's predictable to have Cody win. With this in mind, it's predictable to have Cody ever win any match. Hector says, I think it'll be Bron Breakker taking that US title off of Logan, whether that's at Mania or at some point after. It makes all the sense. Paul, LA Knight beating Logan Paul is actually the entire reason that Logan Paul won the championship in the first place. Anthony says the promo Seth and Cody, when Seth told Cody, I'll be your shield, are fans looking too much into it, thinking that Seth might do a new version of the group. Yes, there is no intention for a relaunch of the Shield. WWE don't go backwards that way. Don't go backwards. Joey says, could KO wrestle Grayson Waller at Mania? I mean, he could. At that point, it seems like a bit of a waste of a match slot. Moises says LA Knight needs to take the US title off of Logan. Wouldn't say need. Need is a strong word. Khalid would prefer LA Knight versus Logan Paul. Spider-Wasp would prefer Kevin Owens. King Azza would prefer Kevin Owens. Ross needs to do it again. Kelvin says 6-man ladder match for the USA Championship for me makes sense. I don't think there are enough people involved in it to really justify that. Robin Dave says I probably won't be up at 5 a.m. Saturday, but I would have to go to bed early. 5 a.m. doesn't seem that bad when I tend to be awake until 5 a.m. Jordan says 11 a.m. instead of 11 p.m. for a PLE. Nice one. Bailey says fans in Western USA will watch Elimination Chamber at 2 a.m. Saturday, and you can finally feel what it feels like to be in the UK. Moises says I just don't want to see Cody shafted again. DM Hunk says who is better in their prime, 2002 Brock Lesnar or 2005 Batista? 2005 Batista for me, he was just more invested in doing it. Joey says, do you expect Sheamus back before Mania or no? No, I don't expect Sheamus back before Mania. He's not currently scheduled for a WrestleMania match to my knowledge, and I just don't see any particular value in building around him when he's not going to be heavily involved. Brad says, Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens as much as I like, and I imagine that was going to finish with LA Knight. Thank you guys for letting me know we are still having a couple of technical issues. Not sure what's going on with the audio. But it is happening at both YouTube and Twitch. So not sure what's happening there, but appreciate you guys letting me know. Please do continue to give me a heads up if anything does go wrong. We have 82 people currently watching, 42 likes. 3 more to 45, guys. 3 more to 45. You may notice that viewership keeps going up as the likes do. Keep them flying. Michael says a Chicago law firm reaching out to anyone that witnessed or experienced abuse at WWE, that can get really messy for WWE. Michael, I dread to ask this question from you because I know you do this really well. What's your source on that one? Or is it actually the Chicago law firm themselves? Kervin says Kevin Owens is still not 100% okay. Why does Kevin Owens need to be in the Elimination Chamber? Doesn't need to be. He's going to be. Razar says, I saw on Friday WWE seems to be doing another press event for Elimination Chamber like the WrestleMania kickoff. Will any big things happen on it? Yes, but it's mostly going to be a pretty standard weigh-in. That's pretty typical of what they're doing at the moment. I did report ahead of time that we're going to see a lot more kickoffs when it comes to the big PLEs. Brad just finished what he was saying earlier. Barry says, I feel terrible for Americans having a wrestling show at an inconvenient time. Oh, my heart bleeds for them. The poor, poor flowers. Moises says, I miss Sheamus and Braun. I should follow up and try and find out what's going on with Braun Strowman because plenty of rumours that he would have been back by now, and yet. Robin Dave says, people complain about Roman Reigns as a champion, but at this point I really don't care. It's just enjoying wrestling. King Arthur says, the promo Seth cut, I reckon there's a chance Seth turns on Cody. I don't. Eric says, do you think No Surrender will be the last TNA match for Josh Alexander? No idea. I have no contacts. I have less contacts in TNA. Ray says, will there be any call-ups after WrestleMania 40? Yes, there will. They're still, at this point in time, putting together the layout of an intended draft. Rosal says, the damage control not going to be featured on the Chamber PLE. Kind of disappointed. I understand why. We have a little bit as to why that is a bit later. Ross picks LA Knight. Spider-Boss says it's amazing Cody's fans got what they wanted, even after Cody's fans sent death threats to The Rock and his daughter. So now it's easy for my faves to get a title match. All I have to do is complain, as Cody's fans did. It wasn't just that, to be clear. The decision was made by Triple H before death threats were sent to my knowledge. But yeah. Sean said, is Queens of Wrestling reliable because they put out a tweet saying Soraya's contract with AEW next year? I'd imagine they're saying that because of the whole 3-year concept, but I'm not aware of them ever actually having reported anything. Thank you, Khalid. Look forward to seeing you there. Robin Dave says, Tom, I pre-ordered 2K24. I can't wait to play Stardust. I really like his theme song. Caesar says, Tom, I saw Sportskeeda reporting Damian Priest will cash in, at WrestleMania doing the Heist of the Century 2.0, and I just started laughing because you reported it months ago. Yep, at least, and I've got to give Sportskeeda a little bit of credit for this one, they used my tweet about the Logan Paul versus LA Knight match when they were reporting it. So that was very, very nice and generous of them. DM Hunk says, is Drew McIntyre the best character in WWE right now? Maybe. He's certainly getting a lot more fans out of it. Kervin lists everyone involved for his ladder match: LA Knight, Kevin Owens, Santos Escobar, Austin Theory, Logan Paul and AJ Styles. I mean, I don't hate it. That's an exciting concept. One says, I live in Chicago. It looks like I have to drink coffee to just stay awake for Elimination Chamber. Thank you, Michael. Says, I saw it on Post Wrestling. The law firm set up a website, have Facebook and Instagram ads with contact information. Thank you very kindly. That's a lot of very interesting information there. Alyssa says, don't see Cody Rhodes lose again. Scary Cody Rhodes again. Don't blind babyface as champion. Don't get people. Don't get people. Don't deserve moments. Yeah. Robin Dave says, do you see Dakota turning on Bayley? Yep, I've laid out exactly what you want, what people... Nope, I've laid out exactly what I expect to see happen there. Khalid says, yeah, Tom, if you give us an update on Braun Strowman video, I'll definitely watch it. Roger says, will you be watching the relaunch of Camille's YouTube channel? Maybe. Didn't really focus on it. Richard says, hello, Tom and all. Fantastic video yesterday. Hashtag justice for Ashley Mazzaro. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Thank you for watching, and thank you to the other 1,300 and change people who've watched so far. It's got one of the highest retention rates of any video that I've ever done. So I'm very proud of that. Very proud indeed. What's up, KJ? Nice to see you, mate. Spiderboss says, Seth Rollins destroyed the Shield 10 years ago. Seth made a Shield reference. It would be unexpected to see Seth turning on Cody. Would be unexpected. Would also make no sense whatsoever. KJ says, Sportskeeda doesn't report things. They just give predictions and fantasy book. By and large, yes, but they do sometimes phrase it in certain ways. T Fresh says, don't you think now that The Rock is older, less is more? Roman should get equal or more mic time when the Bloodline is talking in the ring. That I agree with. King Azza says, Tom, do you see a new Bloodline member debuting at WrestleMania 40? Nope. And KJ says, what does retention rate mean, Tom? So retention rate is the percentage of the video that your average viewer watched. So if, for example, it is a 10-minute video and your viewership watched 6 minutes of it on average, that's a 60% retention rate. That's great. That's absolutely fantastic. The higher your retention rate is and the higher your click-through rate is, the more YouTube will advertise your video. A great video will have a naturally high click-through rate. People will see the title, see the thumbnail and say, I want to watch that, and a naturally high retention rate. People watching it won't click away because they're enjoying it. Zane, you've just brought in one thing that I've actually written myself in a tweet exactly. You've just brought in my tweet. Dylan, how you doing, mate? Hi, Tom. I hope you're having a great day. Great day so far, mate. Good to see you. Nia Jax is earning rave reviews backstage. Particularly rave reviews from people like Triple H and the creative team because of a change in attitude, a change of demeanour, and a change in trust levels from the locker room. Now, Nia Jax has been rewarded with a big role at the upcoming Elimination Chamber, maybe even a main event, but her return was always with an Elimination Chamber match against Rhea Ripley in mind. They've been building her up for a number of months with this in mind, and the win over Becky Lynch was designed for this moment, and also to make people think, oh, maybe Becky Lynch won't be facing Rhea Ripley. Then they do the kickoff, and it's obvious that that's what's going to happen. Now, backstage sources indicate a newly humble, ready-to-learn attitude with Nia Jax that officials respect. When she left, a number of locker room members, the women's locker room I should say, were openly unwilling to wrestle her due to a reputation for injuring people. Lower card faces now are very eager to get involved and want to work with Nia Jax. There is a match with Liv Morgan that's been mentioned by Creative to reheat Liv Morgan towards main event level. And as I mentioned previously, Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill had been mentioned quite a lot. It is, of course, Jade Cargill who eliminated Nia Jax from the Royal Rumble. A lot of respect being put on the name of Nia Jax right now. WWE officials are eager to continue her push. We have 53 likes now and 90 viewers. 2 more likes gets us to 55. We're not quite at the double anymore, but we're still not far away. No worries, KJ. I'd advise you to check out yours. I mean, you run a YouTube channel. Check out the analytics. Barry says, I predict something big is going to happen in the Bloodline storyline on Friday, March 15th, the Ides of March, the ancient Roman day of reckoning, when debts had to be repaid, and the day Julius Caesar was assassinated. That's a bit of history, and I very much appreciate that, Barry. That would be cool. Spiderboss says, I honestly prefer to have someone like Jade beating Rhea for the women's world title if Rhea keeps the title until next year. I prefer Rhea alone instead of having her with the Judgment Day. Rhea alone is a face. Rhea with the Judgment Day is a heel. That's why they're currently still paired up. Ross says, Tom, the videos you put out are excellent. The Ashley Mazzario video is a difficult, awful subject, but it's important it's covered. Thank you very much for saying that, Ross. I don't know if the ones who've watched it will recognise that I got a little bit emotional at times. I edited out most of that. I think most of you will likely know at which point I became a little emotional. These are incredibly difficult subjects, as you say, Ross, and I appreciate you pointing that out. I also think it's vital that we cover this, that we accused, to explain what the allegations are, to explain patterns of behaviour that keep popping up in different allegations. I think it's absolutely vital that we're able to have these discussions. So thank you, Ross, for watching, and thank you for saying that. If you've watched that video, thank you guys for the reminder. We definitely, once every 10 minutes or so, we have a brief cutout of audio. Not sure what's going on there. It doesn't seem to be the software. I think it's the connection through. It might be stormy at the moment, but I'll try and keep you updated. As regards that video, if you've watched it, I'd love to get a little more feedback. So the Ashley Mazzario versus WWE video is doing particularly well at the moment. That, to me, shows I presented the information in an informative and compelling way. Now, next up, this upcoming Sunday, the focus will be put on another major player, John Laurinaitis. So stay tuned for that one, as I feel that will also be another one that's covering a lot of sensitive topics. WTF Wrestling isn't just about wrestling media. It's about information. It's about media literacy. It's about investigative journalism. It's about informing people what's actually going on. It's becoming, slowly, one of the flagship shows of this channel. WTF and Spoiler Warning are the main reasons people are coming to this channel. And honestly, I'm thrilled with that as a concept. If I'm going to be known for something, I'm thrilled to be known for that. In addition, the Spoiler Warning replays are getting a new lease of life at the moment. My channel strategy is working. People are watching Spoiler Warning after the fact, and even though it's a live show where I answer a lot of questions and it's built on that engagement, it's still getting about 20% retention rate, meaning that people are sticking around for maybe 10 minutes or so. They'll be clicking through trying to get all the news, ignoring most of the question and answer sessions and all the news there, but they'll be getting what they want. So that's a really high retention rate for an hour-long live show. So the channel strategy is working. I'm thrilled with that. It's clear to me that I'm doing something right. We are still firmly on the road to the million. We're very close to that first 100,000, and momentum continues to build. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of you, for viewing, for hitting like, for leaving so many comments. One of the biggest differences in my videos right now is how many comments we're getting. And the comments that we're getting into the YouTube videos guarantees growth on that channel, guarantees growth on that video, guarantees more people see it. Thank you to all of you for continuing to guarantee the growth of this channel. Ray says, will there be any returns or debuts at WrestleMania 40? That's not usually Triple H's game anymore. If you look at the Royal Rumble, he prefers to use the people he's got. Lauren says, is Cody being a little bitch again? 93 is an excellent rating in the 2K games. Dylan says, I know it's most likely not going to happen, but do you see Jay being the one who wins tonight? Or will Jimmy cost the match to set up no matter for WrestleMania? I suspect, yes, exactly that. Jimmy Uso will interrupt the match, ensuring that Jey Uso does not win the Intercontinental Championship. And when it comes to that Intercontinental Championship, there is still a plan in place for WrestleMania. I don't necessarily believe Bron Breakker is going to get the spot anymore, but I do believe it'll be a high-quality match and will likely be match of WrestleMania once again. Eric says, I really like that they're pushing Tiffany early. Yep, she's getting a big spot in the Elimination Chamber, and I'm excited to see where they go with that. Gervin says, I told everybody people deserve a second chance. Look at Nia Jax right now. Spider-Boss says, do you think Triple H can be dragged into the Vince allegations? I won't be mentioning that at this point in time. This is not a scripted video. I have my notes, but this is not a scripted video. There are definitely times I say the wrong thing, I'll say too much and have to bring that back. I have to be careful what I say in this format. When it comes to any potential allegations, this is not the arena to do so. I may well put my personal thoughts down on a video. That would be in the members only section for the sake of self-preservation. And to be clear, they would be my own personal thoughts. Caesar, personally I believe Rhea Ripley will likely be champion until WrestleMania 41. Zane says, Scott D'Amour's termination from TNA Wrestling still isn't sitting well with the talent roster to a point that they wrote to... Nope. Okay. Zane, what's your source? Give me a source, man. Give me a source. Kelly says, Nia Jax has been great since her return. Steve, welcome. Says, what's happening, Tom and chat? Hope you're all doing well. Nice to see you, Steve. Thank you very much for so much engagement on the Twitter sphere lately. Appreciate you, sir. Ramsey says, we want Cody, and Cody is who you got. Roger says, Gunther surpasses Pedro Morales as the longest reigning WWE Intercontinental Champion for combined days. Khalid says, I love watching Spoiler Warning and WTF Wrestling. Keep up the great work, mate. Thank you kindly. I very much intend to. DM Hunk says, Batista versus The Undertaker should have main evented WrestleMania 23. Taker won the Rumble, and the build to the match was much better than Shawn Michaels and John Cena. Eric says, Tom, do you think Laurinaitis helped the Bellas get their foot in the door? Nope. Spider-Boss says, Liv back into main event picture. Would be interesting. I think WWE rushed Liv into main event picture in 2022. I think WWE wanted Liv to replace Mercedes and Trinity as fans' favourite. They did not. She was already lined up well before Mercedes and Trinity left for that exact spot. That was something they were planning for a while, primarily because Becky Lynch wanted her to keep being pushed. Jordan says, keep it up, mate. Great community here. Thank you, Jordan. And high praise to everyone here. Roger says, do you think you will do YouTube in the future? Yep, I'm not planning to stop anytime soon. My hope, essentially, is to eventually go full-time. Now, in order to go full-time, I'll need to be getting pretty much 1 million views every month. But 1 million a year is a damn good start, isn't it? Damn good start. Juan says, Tom, you were spot on with Mercedes money this whole time, and I have to keep correcting people that she's not coming back. They still think she's coming back at WrestleMania, and it's frustrating correcting them. Well, before WrestleMania, you'll see her return. I have fun on that one to come. Joey says, are they building up R-Truth and The Miz for a Mania match against Judgment Day at Mania? I don't believe so, no. KJ says, with Braun going to SmackDown, who do you think Gunther faces at WrestleMania? I still kind of think Braun. You may have noticed in the last few weeks, Triple H could not care less about the brand split. Steve says, I feel like Gunther match could be against Sami Zayn at Mania 40. Good shout. Good shout. Pardon me. Sami Zayn was originally as the backup to beat Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, so we'll see how that goes now that Drew McIntyre may have signed a new deal. Spider-Boss says, my question is how to keep Rhea's title reign interesting until next year. Draft. Brand new opponents. Richard says, if Rhea wins her match at Mania, she'll become the longest women's world champion in the title's history. It's a fairly new title. Dan says, evening Dan, nice to see ya. Sovic says, Mike Bailey and Josh Alexander posted hourglass emojis on their latest tweets. What does this mean? I'd imagine it means they're going to fight. Jack says, do you think Steph and Becky will sign their part-time contracts or leave WWE? Speaking purely from my personal opinion, I think they will sign new deals. Thank you, Brad, for sourcing that it was Fightful who reported about the letter to TNA management. And Richard says, any word on who Okada is signing with? I reported for a few months now. I expect Okada to sign with AEW, and I reported on Friday I expect him to turn up pretty much at the same time as Mercedes Money does. Dan, I've been meaning to message you. I do apologise that I haven't already. I know that lately you've been looking for more input, more information, and more ideas for women who could appear on your roster. I'd like to mention, if it hasn't already been mentioned, Hannah Taylor. I know Hannah Taylor a little bit. I've seen a lot of her work. I've seen a lot of videos of her getting injured by other wrestlers, but that doesn't stop her, so that's a pretty good sign in my book. If you already have that name, of course, by all means, don't worry about it. If you're not a fan, by all means, don't worry about it. You know your stuff, so I ain't ever going to question you. But I just wanted to recommend that name. Andrew says, do you see any AEW stars coming back to WWE? Also, I can see Rhea joining with Aleister Black and Buddy Matthews when they do return to WWE. My expectation is Aleister Black and Buddy Matthews. Yes. Also, Miro. Kelly says, I really hope Drew McIntyre signs a new contract. I love his heel work. I think the WWE would have to be very silly not to bring him in. Well, to be clear, it's not their decision. If he doesn't want to sign, he doesn't have to sign. but I think it would be silly of them not to throw the entire book at him. Triple H has been on a mission for the last year to rebuild a tag division to something even similar to what they had in NXT. Triple H wants longer tag team matches, he wants a variety of tag teams, and he has decided that he'll be building the tag division apparently around DIY. DIY will be the core of the new tag division going forwards. Right now, the Street Profits, Indus-Sher and AOP are listed as tag teams, but are not listed in the tag team division as options for tag team matches, primarily because they're considered as faction members and will be used in that manner going forwards. This will change as teams become more established, particularly teams like DIY, Pretty Deadly and so on. There are no plans at the moment, to my knowledge, to split the tag team championships, especially after Judgment Day lose the championships and they rejoin the actual tag division. Judgment Day, despite being tag team champions, are not currently considered a tag team in the tag team division. So I do expect a big match at WrestleMania to get the championships away from them and move them into Gen Pop, where they can be wrestled in matches between, for example, DIY and Pretty Deadly, the Street Profits and DIY, etc. You can see where I'm going with this, and you can see why I'm excited about this. We have 92 people watching and 56 likes. 4 more gets us to 60. Also, if you haven't done so already, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. We do release a lot of content here, and most of that content comes weekly at a pretty regular interval. So we have WTF Wrestling on Sundays. On Wednesdays, we have PLE Wednesdays, where we look towards the next PLE or the next big PLE, make some predictions and share some spoilers. And then on Thursday, we have our Fun Fact Thursday videos, which are designed essentially for the YouTube search algorithm. You might find out some things you didn't know about your favourite wrestlers. I still get baffled by the fact that CM Punk is an able and talented saxophonist. It just gets me. It just gets me. So please do subscribe if you haven't already. We currently are sitting on a record number, 5,640 subscribers. We've gained more than 150 so far this year. Spiderboss says, funny that Seth complains about Roman being a part-timer. Also, Seth wants a part-time deal. Guys who complain about part-timers become part-timers at some point. They do indeed. DM Hunk says, could we see CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam for the world title? On Friday, I did mention the possibility of this particular match and how the WWE are leaving a door open for it. All I will say at this point is that everything is on the table. Keem says, do you think Dusty Rhodes Classic will make it to the main roster? Nope, they're very happy using it in NXT. Dane says, do you think the WWE 2K 40 years of WrestleMania, £105 is worth the price? No. Kelly says, if Buddy Matthews and Aleister Black return to WWE, I'd be very excited to see them return. Spiderboss says, do you think that the Judgment Day could defend the tag team titles in a multi-tag team match at WrestleMania? Said a few times, that is exactly what I expect to have happen. Dylan says, personally, and this is just my opinion, I think Gunter is going to lose the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam, and I think Jay is going to be the one to do it. I mean, he's over with the fans. Razal says, is there any consideration for a mid-card women's title? I really think they need one. Nope, the WWE already have a mid-card title. It's called the Women's Tag Team titles. DM says, Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre will kick off Raw tonight. Jay versus Gunter is the main event. Could they be setting up for something big like a title change? No, Jimmy Uso is definitely getting involved. Or not, who knows. One says, hey Tom, do you think Edge being past his prime and not being a hot polarising commodity like Punk and Mercedes money caused AEW to lose interest for fans? Nope, I think they've been losing interest quite a while, well before, I'd say. Well before we got to the point of Edge even arriving. Dane says, how many subscribers would you need to go full time? So, subscribers, after you reach 1,000 and monetize, don't actually mean the same thing that you expect. YouTube does not push your video extra hard to subscribers. When you first post a video, unless you untick a box, it'll post it first to your subscribers. It will gather information based on how many of your subscribers choose to watch the video, and then if not many of your subscribers do watch the video, it will tank the video and say, okay, well they didn't like it, so clearly nobody else is going to like it. Thus subscribers become more of a hindrance. If it puts out, say, and I did the research on this, if it puts out, say, 4,000 notifications. I've got 5,640 subscribers. If it puts out 4,000 notifications, now I've done the math. My average, when it puts out about 4,000 notifications, is 36 views. 36. Less than 1%. Since I stopped posting the videos to subscribers first and started just posting the videos, the views have massively gone up. Massively. So, yeah. What I would say is when it comes to going full time, I would say based on my current numbers, I would need about 13 million views a year in order to be considered a living wage. Not full time, a living wage. At that point, I would likely go part-time at my current job and do, for example, 15, 20 hours of YouTube. But yeah, more doesn't always necessarily mean more. Dan says, personally, I don't think the answer to any question is ever more championships. I think, unfortunately, this is one of the areas that AEW fall down on. Taylor says, Tom, have you heard anything about MJF and Britt Baker? I discussed MJF on Friday as regards Britt Baker. I've not heard anything about that. Welcome, Carl. Nice to see you, mate. Hope you enjoyed the game. I didn't know what the final score was. Spider-Boss says, what do you think about Adam Copeland's AEW run so far? It's been okay. Eric says, am I the only one that thinks that the J. Jimmy story isn't as hot as it was a few months ago? Well, starting at SummerSlam, it was hot. Then it wasn't. And it hasn't been since. That's my opinion anyway. We have 59 likes so far. One more to 60, guys. Be the one in one-on-one. DM says, I think Randy Orton is the greatest heel in WWE. His work as a heel in 2007, 2009, 2020 was something else. That's just my opinion. And you are welcome to have your opinion. That's a shame, Carl. That's a shame. But hey, sometimes you need the points. Okay, so this is confusing to me because when we do lose the sound, it tends to be a couple of people. But like Lauren said earlier, she hasn't lost the volume. Dan, you've not lost it. This is confusing. YouTube's all over the place, but it's not YouTube, it's the software because it's on Twitch as well. Interesting. DM says, what do you think about Batista's heel run in late 2009, early 2010 before leaving? If you mean that bit where we're destroying Rey Mysterio, loved it. Okay, cheers guys for the updates. Chris says, when I look at my YouTube analytics, I see more people coming over to watch my shows through suggested videos. Is that because of the amount of content I'm putting out? No. So suggested videos is when a video ends. So let's say this video ends and then your video pops up as a suggested video. Your suggested videos means that people are watching videos with extremely similar titles, descriptions and metadata to yours. So let's say it's a watch party. Someone is watching a different watch party and is then pushed across to your watch party. This is both a good and bad thing. You've got an extra view, but you've got a view from someone who's already committed to a different watch party. The strongest thing you can have on YouTube is browse features. Browse features is the front page, and you get to browse features based on viewing habits. When it comes to browse features, it essentially means you're creating regular content. Not a lot of content, regular content. You do a video once a week, etc. Once a week, let's say. And because you always do it once a week, YouTube recognizes that and thinks to themselves, okay, this person always watches this video at this time every week. Let's put them on the homepage. Spoiler warning. Browse features, because it's every single Monday, every single Friday. Browse features. YouTube search is a good one, but YouTube search features and search engines not so big anymore. It's interesting because TikTok is now going to be a search engine like YouTube. Meanwhile, YouTube has started Shorts Live, which will be how they compete with TikTok. It's very interesting seeing both sides become the same thing. True, Dan. One says, according to Saraya herself, she's still pushing for AEW women's tag team titles, which will be about 32 titles. I can't keep up. Khalid says, Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso would be a great match at WrestleMania. Yeet, no yeet. Nah, I didn't love it at the Rumble. Jackson says, just hit that subscribe button. Your video about Vince McMahon going to jail just popped up and then seen your live. Thank you very much for subscribing. Appreciate you. By all means, ask any questions you have. And I hope the video about Vince McMahon answered a few questions for you. That's doing really well at the minute. Roger says, is being a YouTuber hard work? Yes and no. So it is still, in many ways, a hobby for me. These live shows, not hard work at all. These live shows, great fun. I can turn up here with no news whatsoever, but I'll still have a show because I have people here asking questions. You guys create content. That feels easy. In the 5 minutes before a video goes, a spoiler warning goes live, have a full-scale nervous breakdown every time. I'm terrified to be in front of this camera. Then I click go live, I turn on the audio, I turn on the video, I start talking, here we are. It's genuinely one of the best places for me and my mental health to be in front of this camera because I have so many people who genuinely care. It's lovely. Now, as regards videos like WTF Wrestling, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of research, that's a lot of effort. So it depends what you do. Pardon me. Cal says, to be honest, I found AEW fun to begin with, but they just have the same feelings as WWE matches in my opinion. So AEW and WWE, despite the idea that AEW was the alternative, they're both sports entertainment. They are both sports entertainment. You want something different? Watch New Japan. DM says The Rock was going to win the 2019 Rumble match and face Roman at WrestleMania 35 for the UV title. Is that true? No, there was never an intention to do that. Dan says he should never have a championship if he can't do other feuds, not just solo matches in that championships division. I get what you're saying. Absolutely agree. They're certainly struggling right now when it comes to the women's division, I tell you. Spider-Boss says, I certainly agree with The Rock. What is Cody's story? Cody returned, wants the world title, and Cody wants the title his dad never won. Isn't an excuse anymore. It's not exactly a 2-year-long story. I'm back again. I want your belt. Gimme. Gimme. Gimme, gimme, gimme the belt on your shoulder. Can't sing things here, I'll get copyright struck. Spider-Boss says, it's funny that some fans want Mercedes money back in WWE. Those fans then complain about Mercedes. Those people certainly complain when Mercedes money debuts on AEW. Yes, they will. Steve says, do you have any plans to go to All In this year? Possibly. Loved it last year. Not as enamoured this year. Cal says, I thought your Vince video was very interesting, depth and professional. Also, you did what a lot of people are forgetting. They're potential victims out here. They mean more than Vince. Video is nicely done. I wouldn't say that any individual means more than any other individual. As I say, I may put together my own personal thoughts, but that in every way would be behind the scenes in a members only video. Steve says, if so, any matches you would like to see All In this year? I did mention Will Ospreay Samoa Joe on Friday. Chris says, I'm the same way, Tom. I have anxiety attacks before each of my shows, but once I go live, my anxiety converts to excitement and I just want to keep going. Chris, if you're on the Discord, by all means send me a message. What I've done before is, and I really love doing this, essentially case studies on YouTube channels. This is how I learned how to use YouTube. I started off by doing a massive case study on Eurogamer and why they're not doing as well as they used to. And I really enjoyed that. And now I kind of do it everywhere. So if you'd like some feedback, if you're interested in that, I would love to help. Taylor says, AEW has fallen off for me. Not sure what they can do to get hot again. Mercedes money might help that. DM says, if the pandemic never happened, Braun Strowman would have never won a world title. That is crazy to think about considering how he was booked in 2017 before being fed to one F5 at No Mercy 2017. I wouldn't say never, and I wouldn't say there isn't still time. Kelly did really enjoy The Rock's promo. Jackson says, you got yourself a subscriber from Los Angeles, California. What exactly do you usually post? Is it only the big company, pro wrestling, or anything else? Right, so I have 4 recurring shows. Those shows are Spoiler Warning, which you're watching now, WTF Wrestling, which was, for example, the Vince McMahon video that you watched. That covers a lot of different areas. If you look at the WTF Wrestling playlist, we talk about Mercedes money going to AEW, Ric Flair as well. We talk a lot about when the WWE was apparently sold to Saudi Arabia. We cover a lot of ground on that one, a lot of ground. It is usually just the big companies because I have a full-time day job. I'm not full-time here. I certainly can't afford it, so I can only really watch so many. But as we grow and expand, I do want to cover more in New Japan. So if that's of interest to you, it might be worth checking out. Cal says, I've never seen New Japan. How good is it? Great. Great. I loved the Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. match, by the way. Loved it. No Dimitar, there isn't really Mercedes news per se. Just a bit of stuff to cover. Roger says, would you like to see a real wrestling match on one knowing who's going to win and let it be a real fight? I usually do, unfortunately, know who's going to win because I get a lot more news than I expect. Next piece of news is as regards Alexa Bliss. Now, in what will not be music to the ears of many, some in the WWE are not expecting Bliss to return to the company at all. Now, there's a few warring reports on this one. Some I've spoken to believe that her heart was never fully in wrestling, particularly that her heart was in gymnastics, her heart was in bodybuilding, then her heart was in wrestling. Many simply believe her heart is in success, but others dispute that. Multiple sources did state to me they expect her to take the first opportunity that arrives for bigger spotlights in Hollywood rather than returning to the WWE, and they're confident that those opportunities will come her way. But they do expect her to drop into the WWE now and then. The amount of injuries that she's picked up recently means that her time as a full-time wrestler may be, not necessarily an end, but may be numbered a little bit. Now Alexa Bliss is believed to be happy at this point in time. I ain't going to pressure anyone to return if they don't necessarily want to, but it's interesting hearing that there are some in WWE who'd never expect to see her on WWE TV again. Caesar says, Tom, imagine if the pandemic never happened, we'd have not gotten this Bloodline storyline or Tribal Chief character. Disagree. I think it would be different, and I certainly don't think we'd have got Jey Uso versus Roman, but I still think we'd have had a Bloodline. Spider-Boss says, Drew returned to WWE, took the long road to win the world title. Cody literally got the short road to the world title. For this is why I respect Drew McIntyre, who worked from the bottom to the top. Cody lost. Gotta remember that. Kel says, to be fair, after them bringing Punk back, I never thought they would bring him back after everything. True. And Juan says, Mercedes Money versus Jamie Hayter for All In, Tom. That's fantasy booking. I have no idea what they may or may not be planning at this point in time. Spider-Boss says, I honestly see Alexa Bliss going to Hollywood. I don't see WWE giving her a main event push as they gave her back in 2016 to 2018. DM says, The Rock main events 5 WrestleManias and lost 4 of them. Should have won the title at WrestleMania 16 since he won the title at Backlash next month anyway. Cal says, fair play to Alexa. Hopefully she's happy. She had a great run with Bray, brought my passion back for wrestling. Hopefully this makes her happy. Jackson says, that's badass. I'm looking forward to binging your channel. How long have you been watching wrestling for? What's your thought about wrestling personalities like Bischoff, Pritchard, Vince, Russo, and the other? Well, what I would say, firstly, as regards watching wrestling, I've been watching for 25 years, off and on though. Off and on. As regards the personalities you mentioned, a lot of them have some great experience in the wrestling world. Some of them, however, do not have experience in the current wrestling world and haven't evolved. I would say that giving advice to a Tony Khan or a Triple H simply isn't fitting anymore because they're not directly involved in the business and haven't been for long enough that while they're very experienced, they can't really speak to wrestling now. That said, anyone who chooses not to listen to the experience of the past and the mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat them. So I'm glad that they talk, but they are sometimes quite antagonistic about it. Michael says, I do think Alexa's best booking days of WWE are long gone. I can't see her being single champion. All right, mate. All right. Khalid says, I really hope she comes back really soon. Dylan says, Tom, since Brock isn't facing Gunter because of the allegations, who do you think Gunter will be facing at WrestleMania? I think it's going to be Braun Breaker. Did mention this earlier. I'm really not sure at this point in time. I would like it to be Braun Breaker. I think that makes the most sense. Dan says, when it comes to AEW, it doesn't matter who they sign until they change the presentation and format of the product, it won't get hot. Most week's episodes are the equivalent of 90s WWF Superstars TV. That's both in terms of some of the talent on the roster, and also I think you're absolutely right about the presentation. It feels dark, it feels dingy, it just doesn't feel well produced. Eddie says, any update on who is in the vignettes from NXT? Nope. And Nick Aldis will wrestle at WrestleMania? Nope. Sovic says, Alexa Bliss is someone I expect to leave wrestling altogether, but Rumble appearances maybe she can do in the future. Khalid says, I started watching WWE in 2007 when Undertaker won the Royal Rumble. He became my favourite wrestler. Howie says, afternoon, Tom. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you too, Howie. Nice to see you. Jack says, do you think they'll return to SmackDown and team up with their brother again after WrestleMania 40? I mean, Jay. Anything could happen, and I do think the Usos will ride again one day. DM says, it's crazy that Roman and Seth are this era's biggest stars. Roman main events 7 WrestleManias and Seth has none. Yeah, all of the push was for Roman. Rosal says, Tiffany and Braun getting the call-up before WrestleMania surprised me. Do you think they'll be featured on WrestleMania? Yes, in some capacity. Eddie says, poor Jay White, how many years has he signed with AEW? Why poor? He's enjoying himself. Steve says, I'm feeling old. I started watching in 1992. 98 for me, mate. 98. Spider-Boss says, Eric Bischoff certainly doesn't watch wrestling nowadays. Bischoff saying Mercedes will not draw money for AEW is just a nonsense. He absolutely does watch wrestling nowadays. He does watch. I disagree with him, but to say he doesn't watch is completely untrue. Michael says, I think the first week of 2024 was bad for AEW, but the shows have been fantastic since then. Hearing them, especially Russo, Stevie Richards and Bin Hameen, I feel they have a lot of pretty solid ideas. Never really listened to them on the kind of they have Brad Shepard, so I immediately just tuned out. Oh, also Billy Batty, who has sent me many lies and accusations, and, made me laugh. He threatened me once. It was funny. Dan says he also knows he's going to win every match on AEW TV. Guy in program versus guy not in program. It hasn't been on TV since he last lost. It's just that constantly. I haven't watched regularly enough to say whether that's true, Dan, but I trust that you do. I mean, you have a lot of experience in this. Caesar says the story WWE could tell a Bron Breakker versus Gunter is crazy. For example, who is the last person to pin Gunter? Bron Breakker. Ilya Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov, to my knowledge. Was it Bron Breakker? Carl says Roman was always the main guy of the Shield. He was loved by the WWE, and especially the last few years, he's made WWE a lot of money. How he started watching in 78 and is feeling a little old for it. Shame. Then he says, will we see Alexa crybabies if Alexa does not return? I'll be one of them. I really like her promos. Really like her promos. I respect anyone who can talk. Ross says 1990 I started watching mainly WWF and 40 now. And Khalid says, Tom, do you expect to see Ronda Rousey debut on AEW? Nope. Tony Khan did make a play for it. It's not believed that Ronda Rousey went for it. Selvig says, is Bron Breakker going to be in NXT for some time? He already has been. He needs that call-up. Gotcha. Thank you, Steve, for clarifying. Thank you, Caesar, as well. Thank you, Spider-Boss, as well. Love you guys. I genuinely like that if I do say something and I don't know the answer, y'all are all over it. Most well-informed chat in wrestling. Vapecart says 1989 WWF. And DM says Chris Jericho should have won the 2012 Rumble. Sheamus' win was pointless. Opened the show in the match that last 18 seconds. At least Chris was in a massive storyline with CM Punk at WrestleMania 28. Disagree. Sheamus got over. He genuinely did. They were trying to push someone new. If it had been Chris Jericho, they would have been the same thing that they always do. Oh, why aren't you pushing anyone new, etc. Carl genuinely believes the Rock is going to cost Roman at WrestleMania. More news. A match that was planned for Elimination Chamber, a tag team match in fact, would have featured Seth Rollins and CM Punk against Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. This was planned in for Elimination Chamber shortly after Punk's return. This would have given us a big moment for two people who would eventually be facing each other at WrestleMania in Seth Rollins and CM Punk, and it also would have given the crowd a reason to really get behind and then subsequently watch the beating up of Grayson Waller. Austin Theory was going to be the one taking the pin in the match. To my knowledge, the match is scrapped in every way. However, Seth and Cody will be featured in the Grayson Waller effect at Elimination Chamber. So I certainly think it's possible that we get a brief tag team match, Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes against Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, to build up towards what will be expected to be a tag team match between The Rock and Roman Reigns against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. It will also give us Seth Rollins an opportunity to get back in the ring, but in a way that he's protected. Spider-Boss says it could be a good storyline, have Jay win the IC title, the same title that his uncle Umaga won years ago. Could also be a good storyline for him to win the World Heavyweight Championship. He's got a lot of good options available to him. Steve says, do you have a favourite Elimination Chamber match? Yes, I do. I believe it was 2016. John Cena went in as the champion, his last championship run. Bray Wyatt came out the champion. I particularly have fond memories of Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles beating the ever-living crap out of each other. Carlo says WWF 1977 and Bob Backlund. No thanks, Jackson. I'm not one for linking up at this point in time. There's a couple of people I'd love to work with and interview and etc. I will be keeping my own channel, and I like being my own boss, you know? Cal says, Tom, of course I understand it's still new. The reasons are yet to be released. But will you do a stream or a video on why Scott D'Amore was fired from TNA? Because on the outside it seems ludicrous. As soon as I have information on that, I'll be able to share it. But right now, they're keeping their cards close to their chest, and I think someone else will likely get that information first. Razar says, I thought Punk was winning the chamber before he got injured. There was talk about a lot of different matches, as I say. It was planned in shortly after Punk returned as that tag team match. There were some changes afoot. It wasn't continuing until the injury, but it was a consideration. DM says, do you think by any chance someone other than Drew McIntyre wins the chamber? Yes. If he hasn't signed a new deal, I think Randy Orton will win in the chamber. Howie says, as a twist, how do you feel about Heyman turning on Roman? Unnecessary? I agree that it would be something no one would expect, but it kind of already happened with Brock Lesnar. Carl says, is Logan Paul in the Elimination Chamber? I really see some huge spots from him. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Spider-Boss says, do you think the Bloodline could ambush Seth and Cody at Elimination Chamber? Could do, but that would involve flying them out. They don't seem to want to do that. Drew McIntyre recently confirmed my reports about a lot of his new promos being unscripted. For someone running very low on a contract, being unscripted is one hell of a showing of trust. Multiple segments, particularly the promos involving CM Punk, have featured no script, just a few bullet points, and a prior discussion. Punk is referred to as sensitive to criticism backstage, and many people have been told by producers to be very careful about what is said to him. Drew McIntyre took this as a challenge. Though what I will say is that while he is said to be sensitive to criticism by the production team, the locker room suggests that that is not actually accurate. Carl says, some believe Punk isn't injured. He is. But I think he is. I rewatched the Royal Rumble and his face just after he went down was one of serious pain. He is injured. DM says, you think the 2017 Chamber when Wyatt won the title is 17. Thank you. They did not do the Chamber PLE in 2016. Thank you very much. Cal says, I personally think Drew signed another contract and WWE have kept it quiet. For more information on Drew McIntyre, you can check out WTF Wrestling from last week, where I dive into everything as regards Drew McIntyre's contract. Spider-Boss says, I began watching wrestling in 2000 when The Rock was on top and Triple H was a top heel. I feel old, despite the fact that I'm just 31 years old. You're in good company, mate. You're in very good company. Jey Uso versus Gunter was an option for the Elimination Chamber, but Gunter apparently still isn't able to guarantee a return to the US should he leave the country. This is due to ongoing visa issues. Triple H has a team of people working with Gunter, including William Regal and his general international team, to try and get Gunter available for PLEs in Europe. So they do want Gunter available in Paris and available in Germany. At this point in time, Gunter is not able to do so because of that visa issue. Triple H is trying to up the game and make that happen. Razal says, how many matches do you think each night of WrestleMania will have? The last couple of PLE cards have been pretty short. I think it'll be an 8-match night 1 and a 7-match night 2. Essentially, it'll be 4 hours per show, and Triple H likes his half-hour segments, but the main event will get a little longer because it's Roman Reigns. I also think they'll go over when it comes to the main event of night 1 because of Roman Reigns. I don't think I need to explain more. It's Roman, innit? I have a very small report to make as regards damage control. Now, there's many reasons why damage control is not the main focus at the moment. One of many reasons I've been given as to why it's not going to be the main event of any of the individual nights of WrestleMania, and one of many reasons why it's not been given a lot of focus right now. To essentially take what I've been said, this is an agreed quote, so I was given a quote, and then to hide who it might have been giving me the quote, I rewrote it. WrestleMania will not be the peak of the Damage Control storyline. Think the Bloodline and innings. The match between Bayley and Io Sky, the suggestion that I took from this, will be the beginning of a big long-term storyline rather than the end of it. Bayley's time in the spotlight will not just be against Io, it will also be against most of the current iterations of Damage Control and may well involve a number of different tag team partners. So she's not getting the love right now because it's still early days. Spider-Boss says, I'd love to see more pay-per-views in the UK. The UK crowd is awesome. Do you think we could see a WWE pay-per-view in Puerto Rico? I believe we already have. Ryan says, I think LA Knight pins Logan Paul in the Elimination Chamber to set up a US title match at Mania. Good to see you're on my wavelength with that one, Ryan. I reported they were planning that match as early as October last year. Cal says, I think the Cody Roman match will be 40 minutes to 60. That's pretty much his wheelhouse, Roman, yes. DM says, Randy Orton losing at WrestleMania 25 makes no sense. He was on fire and he was peak as a top heel. Khalid says, Tom, today WWE posted the Elimination Chamber 2017, started to cry when Bray Wyatt won. He deserved the title. I bought that exact t-shirt, the Era of Wyatt t-shirt, almost immediately afterwards. Blair says, first of all, cool jacket, Tom. It's not actually a jacket. For anyone who doesn't already know, I'm a red panda. I'm also wearing, and you'll love this, I'm not going to unzip too much, a red panda. A little gamer red panda. Apparently there's a lot of different ones of these, and I'm excited to get more. One day, I might just have all pandas. It's the spoiler warning colours, after all. Do you think Roman will turn face at WrestleMania? Hell no. Steve says I wouldn't be surprised if Bayley vs. Io opened the Mania weekend. Nor I at this point in time, to be honest. But it depends where the tag team match goes. I think Becky may open WrestleMania. Spider-Boss says, if Bayley ever needs a tag team partner, I think Naomi could help. Also says, my favourite Eliminations Chamber was the women's tag team match in 2019 with the role models winning. That was a great match and a real coming out moment for Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Cal says, it's going to be weird not seeing Roman as the champ. It's been one hell of a ride. We've seen one of the greatest of all time. In my opinion, his run has been legendary. So, quick points of discussion. If you're following my Twitter recently, you'll be aware of a few things. Firstly, in one of my videos on Mercedes Money, when I report her signing with AEW, to my knowledge, I'm still the only person to actually report she has signed with AEW. There's a guy who's pretended to be both Mercedes Money and Mercedes Money's boyfriend, Ted. He's going to have a meltdown because next month, Mercedes Money will be debuting for AEW. Now, his meltdown has single-handedly ensured that Mercedes Money video continues to get views. Trolls are genuinely a wonderful thing now, unfortunately. Twitter growth, by the way, is also fantastic. One thing I do need to do more of is posting less links, because if you post links regularly, Twitter just tanks your entire account. But if you post less links, you'll pop up on the For You page all the time. You build momentum and build momentum and build momentum. And even if you have very few followers, you can start to get a hell of a lot of views. At that point, if I retweet things like the links to this show, before you know it, we be flying. So I'm changing a little bit what I'm doing on Twitter. The Twitter growth is largely based on less links and more of those silly engagement farming posts that Fightful does all the time. This will result in a lot more viewers and thus income here on the YouTube channel, so long term it is part of the strategy. I apologise if it does annoy anyone, but I do want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been engaging on Twitter, sharing and replying. Replies at this point in time are worth far more than anything else, because if you click on the tweet and have it open on your screen for more than a minute, you get a massive boost to it and a massive increase to the likelihood of it popping up on For You pages. As I mentioned earlier, we've almost reached the first 100,000 views this year in our march to 1 million. Quite a lot of them, about 25,000, have been shorts views. They don't have the same revenue stream, but what I will say, revenue's also doing pretty good, to be honest. I'm a happy boy, what can I say? The highest amount of revenue at the moment is actually coming from channel memberships, particularly guest memberships as well. So I want to say thank you to everyone who's generously donated and everyone who's currently a channel member on YouTube or has a subscription on the Twitch side. Finally, I can unfortunately announce that after WrestleMania, I will be leaving PWTorch. Nick and Tom's Intercontinental adventure will be ending. The reasoning is quite simple. I want to focus more time here on this YouTube channel and put that work into WTF Wrestling and the time I can use to research there, spoiler warning and the time that I've taken to research there, a lot of research goes into this show, and of course PLE Wednesdays and the fun Fact Thursdays. I want to focus here, so Nick and Tom's Intercontinental adventure will be coming to an end. What I will say is that hopefully there'll be plenty more Nick and plenty more Tom in your YouTube channels in the days to come. Spider-Boss says, does WWE have any issues with Moxley? They cut off Moxley from the Shield video package when they showed Roman and Seth on the Shield. Nope, no issues. They're just not happy with having to pay him royalties for use of his own face. Kelly says, if Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch opens night 1 at WrestleMania, I will be watching. DM says it was the worst booking decision Vince made, taking the title from Wyatt at WrestleMania 33, 5 weeks after he won, just to give to a man who was a jobber a month before, Jinder, who got hindered. Cal says, surely if Roman loses, he goes off TV till SummerSlam, surely he gets a break. Dane says, have any of your videos gone viral on X? Viral, no. But when it comes to X, if you post a link, you're pretty much guaranteed not to go viral. What I could do is post the entire damn video on there. Just post the entire damn thing. I could do that. Nothing is technically stopping me. Apart from the fact that I want to bring people to this channel, so I need to keep some exclusivity here. Zane, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of details of how much money I make on YouTube. It's not particularly substantial. In the last year or so, I made about £3,000. Almost all of which went back into the business. I took my first paycheck from YouTube after more than 3 years last month. £60. £60 for 3 years of work. I reckon I'd earned it. But a lot of it goes onto the editing software, the WWE Network subscription. It will eventually go into the Netflix subscription when it's all on there. Cal thinks the worst booking decision is Goldberg beating The Fiend. That was ridiculous. We've been live for an hour and a quarter. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining me. Spoiler warning continues to be a hell of a lot of fun, and I do thank all of you for keeping me company, keeping me entertained, and keeping me with plenty of content to create. I'm going to wrap it up there, but before I do, as always, I will say, I've been Tom Colohue, you have been fantastic, and I will see you all very soon.